the University Racing Club podcast, proudly sponsored by EventSec Limited, your best solution for event security and stewarding. Welcome to part 2 of episode 3 of the University Racing Club podcast with Brough Scott MBE. Now part 1 was brilliant, but part 2 promises to be even better. Brough and I talk about where racing is going wrong, what it can do for the future, and how sustainable it is in terms of its action and its plan. Now before we get into Brough, let's have a quick chat with Josh about how LBGs is doing after his run at Newcastle last week. Morning Josh, how you doing mate?
All good, thank you.
Excellent. So how's LBGs come out of his run at Newcastle last week?
He's come out of it well. You could tell he'd had a race. I think he's obviously had 2 races now on pretty gruelling deep ground, and you can tell he's a little bit tired after that, but he seems fine. He's back cantering. I think he's just going to want a good month between Newcastle and his next run. And to be honest with you, he might wait even longer just to make sure he gets some decent ground. Like I say, he's had 2 pretty gruelling races on that ground, and I'm just not convinced he's a horse for that type of ground, which we know for definite now. So we need to make sure we get it right next time on some decent ground.
Yeah, and his handicap mark came down to 87. That should obviously stand him in good stead.
I think so. I think he's more than capable of winning off that. We thought he could win off higher, but I just don't think he's had conditions and everything to suit yet. So I think he's going into the spring as the ground does get better. It's going to give us a lot more chance to win more races coming down to that sort of mark. We'll have plenty of fun with him on decent ground. He's got plenty of good days out left.
Perfect. Ideal. Thanks, Josh.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
We'll get to hear from Josh reflecting on LBGs' run at Newcastle. The obvious part being how bad the ground was and the conditions didn't suit him at all. So we'll give him a nice bit of a break. He's obviously back cantering now, but we'll slowly build him up again and just go searching for that better ground that we think he needs. That's the best part about it. He's a young horse. We've learned about him. And now he's very well handicapped down to a mark of 87, and we feel like we'll be very competitive next time out when conditions suit. So, as I say, we'll build him up again and look forward to getting him back on the racecourse. So now let's pick up where we left off with Brough. It's fascinating how you've been across all those sort of facets of the sport, from the presenting to the writing, but it's always been sort of about getting that sport up and out. And I think with the racing post, it's brilliant. And how it sort of lends into also, as you say, the Churchill book that you did, the Henry Cecil book that you did, which won the Horse Racing Book of the Year in 2013.
I'm not sure it did, you know. I'm not sure it did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not sure it did. It's funny, as you know, there's some very unhappy there because Henry himself fell out with me about it, which again, the book is, he read the book, he comes out of it very well in the book.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't want things to be dealt with, but I made the mistake of showing him that the completed but not corrected manuscript, which you should never do.
Right,
you should never show people, if you can possibly avoid investors, your uncompleted film, because they then say, I don't want this in, that in.
Right.
And the thing developed, because the year that I was with it was the year of Frankel's 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And beginning of the year, what we had agreed to do was just to do a thing about Henry and his horses. So I was there, and I was still, but I know Henry for ages and stuff. You know the book, and wanted to give his background and things. And then Frankel took off and stuff. So I said, look, this is getting out of control. I really need your book about, I can't just do the horse, it needs to be about the whole thing.
Okay.
And he said, well, we really trust you. And I'd explained to his wife, particularly, I said, look, you're going to have to leave it to me. I can't go through it. Leave it to me.
Yeah.
And I wrote what I thought was a realistic but admiring book.
Yeah.
About an amazing career as an extraordinary man, but it was a realistic book. He couldn't possibly. The scrapes he got into were much too big to pretend it didn't happen. The breakup of his marriage was horrific in racing terms at the time, and he had his bites with alcohol were quite naughty. He's very lucky not to go to jail. He was over the limit with 2 kids in the back. You go to jail now. That probably
Yeah.
But basically, and there was a terrible scene with the wife and Fallon, and he was on the front page of the News of the World 2 weeks running. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Not mention that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the book was what it was, and I was sending it to a couple of people who were saying I'd been too nice to it. But no, I thought I was, but I then made a great mistake. I got very tired finishing. I just finished it by Ascot.
Yeah.
And Jane Cecil said, how are you going on? I said, finish it. Could we see it? And I said, oh yeah, I've got. But I had it literally in papers, printed out, sort of 300 pages or something.
Okay.
And so I gave her this without really giving them any proper warning.
Yeah.
So we started reading, I don't want that bit, I don't want this. It was a great mistake. And then, then there was this awful row, and they said there was going to be a huge scene. And then when it finally came out, he went publicly saying it's a disgrace and all the rest of it.
Wow.
And then various people sort of took against me too, which is a bit unfair. I felt unfair, but
Yeah.
again, I wasn't ever going to say more. I had one statement I made about, what I was doing was never trying to do anything else. As I said, to do a admiring but realistic portrait.
Yeah.
Which it was, I think.
Yeah.
You can be the judge.
Well,
but,
that's interesting.
But that's what happened. But it was the saddest for me because I never got reconciled to it. And it's just a pity.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared to go and beg. I perhaps should have gone and seen him and sort of had the row, if you know what I mean. I got too tired, and I enjoyed doing it so much.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time there, going around with quite a nice sort of part of it when 5 o'clock in the morning when Frank was being fed by a woman who looked after him, and all that. I was behind the scenes. I enjoy writing about things close up.
Yeah.
Rather than pontificating. I'm not very good at pontificating, really. I'm too boring on that. But basically, I like writing what you see.
Oh, well, I think...
And taking people to places, that's fun. I've obviously done it. I very much enjoyed doing it about other sports as well. Going to rugby internationals and Olympics and things. You're going to places. And that's why I like racing needs to, I always think if you can, give a perspective like you're doing with your team, is people who aren't necessarily involved in racing say this is what it can be like.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, it's a terrible danger, and of course it's happening across the whole world now, but echo chambers, people in racing saying nobody understands us, and that's a terrible mistake because there's the number who do understand you get less and less and less.
I know, that's the issue.
You can say, this is what we are, and we can come towards you to this extent, perhaps not to a great extent. You can't actually say the future of racing is to have, no doubt, good, all ideas are good to start with, to have a look at them.
Yeah.
But, the idea of having races around the world up Fifth Avenue and up Park Lane and up Champs-Élysées, which is Peter Phillips' idea, wasn't it? I mean, and people bought into that.
Yeah.
There's going to be something. Racing is what it is. It has to try and make itself more accessible.
That's it.
And if you dig into it, you get a lot better. That's why I believe that there is a future in the things that you're doing, and because actually racing can make itself more accessible than it's ever been able to do, because it's got websites and cameras now. Everybody could have a camera and editing systems.
Yeah.
If you have a tiny share in a horse, you can send out individual pictures and videos of it to as many people as you like.
That's it.
Of a button.
Yeah.
You have and that's what they're already doing in Australia. There's obviously more of an appetite, but so many of these horses in Australia are actually owned by syndicates.
Okay.
And syndication, I'm sure, is obviously you're never going to get in Britain. I can't see how, unless there's some huge scandal. You're never going to get money from betting in the way you've got it from other countries. And going back over the history of it, thinking you can undo history is no good. We had chances of going into total monopoly, we didn't take them.
Yeah.
We had chances of being fully linked up into the, which I was involved in a bit with betting shops and TV, but we didn't take them.
Yeah.
And things go by. So we've got our system of financing racing is hugely faulty, and we've got to be very tough. In the next few years are going to be, well, it's existential. Either we do some pretty radical things, or we go on clinging to the past and go down with it.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, brings us to the present debate about King George and Kempton, which is actually classic racing, because people get completely furious if you suggest go anywhere else.
No, I know.
But the fact is, if you're saying, I mean, there's two different discussions. One is does Kempton produce the most exciting pitch for this event?
Yeah.
And did not last week's show you quite how amazing it can be, and how, and that's the answer to that's yes.
Yeah.
But the next question is, which also the answer is yes, is should racing at Christmas have a centerpiece which is up against any other sporting event at the time, as an event which people can go to and attend and everything else, as it does with the Gold Cup at Cheltenham, Royal Ascot and Grand National?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is yes. We obviously ought to have a matching Christmas deal, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
That could be put up against, Twickenham or Premier League or whatever.
Yeah.
And the question, which is no, is could Kempton, as it is, ever hold anything like a Premier League crowd, i.e. 40 to 50,000? The answer to that's no. It's absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you're going to continue the next 10 years lingering on until actually Kempton probably gets its way to housing, when every year the actual event, not the TV thing, but the event is a shadow of what it should be.
Yeah.
The next question is there a place around which could put that event on?
I was going to say,
The answer is yes.
Ascot.
Which is Ascot.
Yeah.
And if you've got any ambition, you say, right, well, we're going to put that race there. And of course there'll be screams and shouts. But there were screams and shouts if in 10 years' time Kempton closes, and then you dribble away. By then, what's you going to do with Sandown Park? Sandown Park is doing up. And anyway, you can't have the Sandown Park. I mean, the idea you can have the King George at Sandown on Boxing Day, what do you do at Single Creek? The ground is going to be chewed to bits by then.
Yeah.
And anyway, Sandown can't take any more either.
Yeah.
Sandown's not a Premier League side. It can't take more than about 17 to 20,000.
Yeah.
And Ascot has a 2-day meeting Friday, Saturday. It's quite easy to make it Saturday. They had 20,000 on a Saturday.
Yeah. It's
which is 3,000 more they had at Kempton.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's on a Saturday. And if they'd had 50,000 on the Sunday. But again, if you start arguing like that, and that's the danger of racing. It's going to have to do some very unpleasant things because it's in a very unpleasant situation.
Yeah.
Which again, all these people recognise that, but the idea you can get your way out of it. What do you do? Is the government going to bail you out? I mean, come on, let's be realistic, guys.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know how we got into that particular rant, but there you are.
Well, no, I think it's very topical as well because, as you say, it's either that it's sort of out of. I mean, I know they came out and said it's out of their hands, but it pretty much is. I don't know the exacts behind Red Row and what they've taken, what they've got, but if, as you say, we wait 5 years and in 5 years' time Kempton's gone and the King George was still at Kempton, then we're sort of all scratching our heads going, well, where do we move it now? But if you re-establish it at Ascot now, bring it as a new Premier race day, this is it. Let's get loads of people from London, so accessible. Ascot's a great race course, great jumps track, a stiff test as well, a stiff jumping test. Let's bring the King George.
It's a slightly different test, but it is right-handed.
Yeah.
It won't be the same as Kempton, but don't forget, the Champion Stakes is completely different from what it was before. I was against moving it as regards a race for the reason people are putting up now. But Newmarket could never put on, they have 35,000 something at the Champion Stakes day. And no one says the Champion Stakes is in the wrong place now.
Yeah.
It was in a straight mile. Now it's run over a flat straight mile. Now it's running a hilly mile and a quarter.
Yeah.
Round a bend. I mean, sorry, they're both mile and a quarter, but one's round a bend and up a hill.
Straight. Yeah.
The other was straight. I mean, it's completely different.
Yeah.
But no one says it's not a worthy successor. But things change, and I think unless you're prepared to embrace change, racing's doomed.
Oh, exactly.
And the phrase I've always used, I've used it, Lorenzo, the danger they echo around you riding hobby horses, but racing needs to be inspired by its past, because it's got a stronger past than any other sporting activity.
Yeah.
But it mustn't be imprisoned by it, and I think it's imprisoned by its past a lot of the time, and imprisoned by Arkle and. Again, I remember Arkle running and all this. Was riding at the time, and I remember Rose Park winning around there in the 1950s. But that's then.
Yeah.
Where the thing you need to ask, and people like you need to ask it more than anyone else, where are we going to be, not next year, because you can wrangle about that, where are we going to be in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, 10 years' time, where are we going to be?
Yeah.
And if you're saying, well, whether it's Kempton, well, what will Kempton be like then? What will other sporting activities be like then?
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, Kempton Grandstand has to have it's nowhere near big enough. Who's going to pay for it doing it up? That'll take ages.
Yeah.
Sandown is, the obvious thing you need to do is you need to sell Kempton, and with the money from that, if you're going to do up Sandown.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you switch the King George to Ascot.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that all pretty painlessly.
Yeah.
Because the King George go to Kempton without any cost at all to anybody. You just share the profits.
Yeah.
But it's no cost. You don't have to build anything. You've got to rebuild Sandown quite soon because it's all falling. I've only been to Sandown lately, but it's not falling. But it's very inadequate. And you take it. If you've got ambitions there,
okay.
It's got a fantastic location.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work. It gets a lot of mileage out of its exhibition centre and all the rest of it.
Right.
But it needs to be updated.
Yeah,
it
of
was
course.
new in 1975 or whatever it was done up.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at its new stand, it's had its 150th centenary or something, didn't it, this year?
Yeah.
Because I did a TV thing about it. And it needs investment.
Yeah.
And Aintree, of course, they're keen to sort of give Aintree a number. The idea you could switch the King George to Aintree, that seems to me a nonsense.
Incredibly tough work as well on that sort of ground around Aintree at King George there. That would be.
Well, it could be, but it's more than that. It's the other way round. I mean, okay, it's not. But I mean, if you actually go left-handed rather than right-handed, and also it means that London doesn't have a top jump race.
Yeah.
The London area.
Yeah.
It moves it from being London-based to up there, or home counties based.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, that's. But my main point is that there are things like that you're going to have to embrace in 10 years' time. Where should we be?
Mm.
If we're still ranking, and what we didn't do. I mean, the one thing I was involved with was betting shops, but didn't have TV in them.
Okay.
I was actually doing a fight in New York, in Las Vegas, and they were just starting closed circuit television being sold, but they were going to try it. They were just starting closed circuit, and I came back and said, look, we've got the perfect for closed circuit. We've got these race course betting shops,
Yeah.
and they need pictures in them. There's already closed circuit other races that are fairly limited.
Okay.
We boosted that up to put it across, and there was a working party doing it. A man called Simon Weatherby, who was the bright young man in Weatherby's.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he died, and then the committee we'd got together, so there was no energy behind it. And to my shame, I got other things on my line, and I needed somebody to pick it up. Nobody did, and then the bookmakers started their own thing.
Yeah.
And
So,
at that stage, we could have locked in. We could have owned all the pictures.
yeah.
And indeed, one of the other thing, we've been really ambitious. I was keen that the Racing Post database should go to. It could be internationalised. If the Jockey Club bought it,
Yeah.
they could then own the data across the world, and then you could access it. And every time you access it, it would be going to racing as a whole.
Okay.
And that, again, I'm having a meeting about that, but I didn't drive it enough. I mean, logically, if that had happened, we'd have got an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
But again, there'll be other ways possibly. But unless you embrace them, people like you have ideas. The idea that you can go along as you have been is a nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean, extrapolate the facts, and they will all tell you that racing will go bust, don't they?
Yeah.
The Macdooms have actually bailed out flat racing. I mean, without the Macdooms and Coolmore, Coolmore saved the Derbies.
Gosh, yeah.
And who knows what's going to happen to the Derby 10 years on? That's not a very easy conversation.
Well, yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
Because basically, you look at the Derby. Back in the day, when I was growing up, you knew who the principal runners of the Derby were. Now, you could sort of say the horses, by the time the Derby came round, you could say those are the ones in the autumn. You sort of knew.
Yeah.
Derby favourite, the horse that won the two Tourities, I think, was the Derby favourite. Dewhurst, they were the Derby favourites.
Yeah.
Now, you quite often haven't run, or they just run or win or something, haven't they? It's a completely different deal.
Yeah,
and of course,
it's a different structure.
You're targeting not the Derby, you're targeting the autumn things and the Breeders' Cups and things like that.
Yeah.
As much as anything else.
Which isn't, it's sort of, I guess as you say, every sport has evolved over time, especially the last 10 years, because everything's come in. Even like football, for example. I know it's not directly fan engagement wise, but the introduction of VAR, which still gets its pelters for sure, but I think when it was first introduced, it was a change which people didn't embrace. But now it's something that's just there, and it's something that people just have. It's just automatically there, and I think racing needs to embrace that, sort of move it round.
And I think again, I think the crossword, galloping card game, the different analogies about racing it's a mistake to get. Obviously, I come from the equine athletics background.
Yeah.
But that remains at the heart of it. But you be very careful, because I've said this spiel to assorted incoming heads of sort of BHA and things. That what people forget about peril is that racing it's not like an ordinary sport. It's not something nowadays that people aspire to do. People aspire to play football.
Yeah.
People aspire to win Wembley. They aspire to for the century at Lords. They aspire to try Twickenham. People in racing, a few people like me, aspired to win the Grand National, or whatever it was. But I mean, that's very, very few people do that. I mean, there's only about 300 professional jockeys.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody grows up wanting to be a jockey. Because 100 years ago, which is very important, Steve Donoghue won the Grand National, won the Derby for the sixth time on a horse called Manor.
Okay.
And when he did that, he would be the most popular and the highest paid sportsman in the land.
Right.
Now, it's symptomatic where racing is that neither of those things are anywhere near true now.
Yeah.
I mean, no one would know who run more, or Machine Murphy was when they walked down the road.
Yeah.
Or virtually nowhere except for you're in Lambourne or Newmarket. And they get, the top ones get highly paid, but I mean, most of them don't compare to anything at all. I mean,
Yeah.
compared to footballers, my daughter is osteopath at Chelsea, and I mean, all those guys are on wages that jockeys would just couldn't believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a completely different scale.
Mhm.
And you've got to accept that. It's different. And therefore, people aspire to having a winner, backing a winner, having a possession. You can actually possess a horse, even if you back it. And therefore, you've got to try and make the which is the fascination of it, is to link the horse activity with the, whatever you like to say, the Agatha Christie mystery, the card game, the fact that it's going to work out in 60 seconds or 10 minutes. There's going to be an answer to this, and horses win at 100, 300 to 1. There is an answer somewhere. It always makes sense afterwards.
Yeah.
That's the fascination. That's why you can always sort of try and do it. It could happen, but this is why part of the winter, the more you dig, more fascinating it becomes. And
100%.
where we have been very slow, and it has really irritated me, one of my hobby horses, which you've heard a few gallop round this morning, is we've been so slow on data.
Yeah.
We didn't have photo finishes till way after. We didn't have starting stores till way after America and places, and most of all, we didn't have any timing.
Yeah.
We didn't have a commentaries. We didn't have any public commentaries.
Okay.
To 1954.
Wow.
And people complain. It's a good word. It's like, what do we do? Don't we? People start telling you what's happening. Watch it. And we didn't. The time still. I mean, of the pieces of information which is important when a horse goes past the post.
Yeah.
And when you start looking at the results, is what won the first 3 or 4, whatever it is, the distances.
Mhm.
And the time. It's athletic, I thought. To not have the time. The time is not normally displayed. It's displayed once.
Yeah.
And they're just beginning to do it. And of course, before then, until the last very few years, we haven't had sectional timing.
No. Yeah.
Which makes athletics completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, the commentator would be just saying if they're stretched out, they're going a good clip. If they're bunched up, they're not going a good gallop.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, that didn't change for 50 years.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
ludicrous. And we're now at last beginning to have proper, and of course it's fascinating, this race IQ thing, if you follow that, but it's what we're digging into. I mean, they're now working out how much you lose jumping, and you can work out how fast horses accelerate, and stride patterns, and all that sort of stuff. That's going to get better and better, which will feed in, and the beauty is you can get more and more data, and yet it's still uncertain.
Mhm.
But again, young people need data, and the idea you just used to listen because so-and-so likes his horse. Say, well, what's the evidence?
Yeah.
And well, again, gallops at home and stuff. I mean, there'll always be intuition, but to not know how things are going compared to others is in some data is ridiculous. And to not know things like things which is interesting, like horses' size and weight. Why don't we know that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, it's ludicrous because I mean, it's jolly interesting.
Yeah.
How different they are. And the Arc winner, Delicani, I was actually a little grey horse. You remember? Delicani was grey.
Yeah.
Maybe I was with Roy Dupre the day before, 2 days before, and they put him on the scales, and he was 452, I think, or 450 kilos.
Okay.
Well, you put, that horse won the Guineas 2 years ago, not the horse who won the Derby for Charlie Humby, that was 540.
Wow.
I mean, they're 50, 60 kilos difference. They're it's different size of dog.
Yeah.
And that's just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And otherwise, you're saying on the television it looks quite nice, quite that big, how much bigger is it? And again, people a bit more data on bigger horses. Do they carry weight better?
Yeah.
Logically, but perhaps because they're carrying their own, what percentage of their own weight is, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I think the data is interesting because you can perm it and perm it and perm it. And we had no data at all for a long time. We sort of, people said the only time matters when you're in prison.
Yeah.
And because the journalists didn't want to bother, I find it terribly cross because they didn't want to know about sectional types. No, it doesn't make any difference. But it's just interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the novice chaser of Mullins, what's he called, on Boxing Day.
Oh,
the Donnelly horse, Carjess. Is it called Carjess?
Kitzbühel.
Kitzbühel. He was 2.5 seconds slower than the year that Ile France won. He won the novice chase.
Yeah.
Was a wayward lad. Was it called Level Quarter Star?
Quarter Star, I think.
I mean, he was 2.5 seconds quicker than the Huey who won the King George.
Wow.
I mean, I think the key word is interesting.
Yeah.
Racing needs to be interesting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's for the aficionados only. If you can make it interesting, if you want to be able to say in the pub to someone in a minute or less why this is interesting. This race. If you go on a long spiel about something having 2 pounds heavier than something else, so well, actually, there's a reason that this is fascinating because it should be. In theory, it's a repeat of what happened before. On the other hand, the circumstances are different. Whatever. I mean, the one bit of information, that bit of advice I was given, which I've always tried to heed when I started doing television, was never overestimate your audience's knowledge, or underestimate their intelligence.
Right.
And I think it's a terribly good motto for people's attitude to racing.
Yeah.
Don't patronise, because you get some people. Racing still has a considerable sense of entitlement because it's background, and
Of course.
Jockey Club and Royal Patriot, something else.
Yeah.
And it must realise it actually does look patronising some of the time.
Yeah.
And people don't like being patronised. On the other hand, they don't know, so they need to be informed.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
there's ways of doing it which are okay, but it is tricky because why shouldn't people think that, I'm talking to you with a posh accent and stuff, I was always very aware when I was doing television why my sort of turned out almost like sort of catchword. I always used to say hello everyone when I opened the show because I meant it, and the proudest thing I had really was doing television is that you could talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And the 3 things I did, which would amuse you. I was down a mine when you could go down mines. The miners' club asked would I come up and do something, and I've got the bit of coal ability with me somewhere, and they 90 looks rather smart, but I went down the mine and then we had a pretty drunken evening in their sort of miners' club.
Yeah.
And the same month there was a private gathering because the Queen was champion owner, and I'd done a film or something about it in Buckingham Palace. And a little bit later on, and I was actually doing something. There was a horse called Southern Falling, it was called.
Okay.
It was running the Grand National, and it was a time of the troubles in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And it where started in the south and finished in the north, or the other way around. I can't remember which.
Right.
And I rang a guy up, said, could I come and see him? He said, yes, of course. Off I went. And of course, if you're innocent of other things and you're naive, but you are, that's your protection. But I hired a car and drove down to this place and went into the pub. It's dark and wet and things.
Yeah.
So it must have been beginning middle of March or something.
Okay.
And walked in the pub and said in my posh English voice, "Do you know where David Cameron, or he was me. It's like being in a saloon with, guys saying, "Oh yeah,"
Yeah.
and of course this is Crossmer Glens, and which is absolute Republican stronghold, and particularly difficult. And they looked at me, what particular treatment they would give me, and I explained what I was doing, and they realised that I was the television and all the rest of it, and they said, "Of course." And someone got in the car and drove me there or led me there.
Yeah.
And I never had any trouble in Ireland.
Brilliant.
Anywhere, because even though I come from a background of I had a brother-in-law who was very senior in the army, actually. But I shared something with all those places which they shared.
Yeah.
And they knew I came with that. That's my passport, and it's been a passport around the world. Racing is an international thing.
Yeah.
And it's a cross-culture thing, and happens in India and Japan, Australia, and South America, and I've been to all those places. And with the passport, you can take it, and of course, it's the fascination is the same. You're still breeding horses. You're still trying to race them.
Yeah.
You're still trying to back them. So I mean, that's the fascination.
100%.
But it needs to have thought and enthusiasm to not be imprisoned by its past. And
Exactly.
I think it's big danger is it is imprisoned by its past.
Yeah.
The things that you're doing, and what's that university club? It's a man who's taking university students.
Oh, the Invades, the student race days.
Invade, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I understand the jockey club could have bought into that and didn't. It seemed to be very foolish of them.
Oh, really?
Did you know that?
I didn't know. No.
It's exactly the sort of thing they ought to have bought into. You've got to try and have ambitions.
That's it.
Not to go back to what it was, but ambitious to say we can be fascinating in this area.
Yeah.
Try and get yourself into areas where you can be interesting. Like I do. You're not going to be. You can't easily go behind the scenes to a football club.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can go to Paul Nicholls or Oliver Green. You can go to a top class stable now. You can go round there quite easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get very close to the athletes. I mean, you can practically pat Cole Palmer on the backside.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a huge thing, the access. And of course, it's access to a sort of rural world, which is more and more different for most people's knowledge.
Yeah. And that's the most important part, really.
And I think that's attractive and can be made attractive.
Well, a real pleasure to speak to Brough across 2 parts of this episode. Great to chat through his past career and also the present issues, sort of get his opinion on everything. Thank you so much for listening to both parts, and can't wait to see you for the next episode.